Good evening, friends. Welcome to the session on automation of compliance management system and case studies. This is an event which is a complimentary webinar which Sama has been having for more than a year now. And we've had the pleasure of having a range of speakers over the last 1 year and more. In line with that, uh, we have this event which is supported by the Government of Canada Trade Commissioner Service. We've got Gaurav Jain, who's the founder of LexComply. Gaurav, welcome to the session today.
Thank you, Manish.
So Gaurav is a very passionate professional when it comes to compliance matters. He's a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and he's got more than 19 years of experience advising corporates on matters relating to statutory and regulatory compliances and implementing compliance management systems. He is the core ideator of LexComply.com and LexBuddy.com, which provides eGRC applications for corporates and compliance research applications for professionals. His articles have also been published on moneycontrol.com, and he is a member of the Industry Advisory Committee of Amity University, Jaipur campus. Friends, with that brief introduction, I would leave the floor open to Gaurav to share his vast experience with us today. And with the interaction which you may have, you may pick his brains for any further insights that may be available with him. Thank you very much. And Gaurav, it's all yours.
Thank you, Manishi, and thanks to Deepji sir and Sama Audit team for having me here. I'm just sharing my screen and start with my presentation. I'll keep my discussion more crisp and relevant with the recent compliance trends. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is, Gauravji. It is.
Okay. Thank you. So, friends, I give you a quick introduction of LexComply as an organization which I work. So LexComply was ideated in 2015. We are eGRC products provider, wherein we provide compliance management solutions, contract management solutions, and along with that, we also provide litigation management solutions for the corporates. And we do have LexBuddy, which is your own compliance research engine for practicing professionals. We are headquartered out of Delhi with a support center in major metros of India. Along with me as a co-founder, we have Pooja, and my other KMP team is Neeraj, Devesh, and Thomas Abraham. So this is a quick brief about LexComply. I'll quickly move on to the topic of the today's session, which is compliance, automation of compliances and the case studies. And I just presenting, I'm sure most of you know that compliance landscape, predominantly when we talk about compliances, so it is primarily the central laws, the state laws, and then obviously the local laws. And within that, we can categorize them into further subsets depending upon the departments, which is, I've just tried to cover the major department, which is secretarial, finance, labor, and EHS, commercial and regulatory. The whole idea behind sharing this sheet is just to give or an idea around the length and breadth and complexity of the compliances in India and outside India as well. So the topic about compliance, Indian companies being global and global companies being in India, and a lot of our fellow professionals also taking care of international territories. So it's not only limited to India now, it's pretty international as of now. So all these things, and also coupled with the top compliances trends in the industry, makes it very relevant, the compliance management very, very relevant. So if we take the global trends on compliances, there have been a lot of growing focus towards non-financial compliances as well. So non-financial compliances, when we say, is predominantly very compliances which are specific to your sector. That is IT, ITES, food, pharma sector, hospitality sector. Now, these are the sectors which are highly regulated. Similarly, there is an increase in the trend towards laws pertaining to cyber security. Licensing and permits, everybody focuses on a lot today, because while we say industry specific regulation or consumer protection regulation, one of the key things that come in, what are the laws, what are the licenses and permits we need to run the business. And for that, we have central and the state laws available to us. I would say the last but the most important trend that is going on today is ESG compliances. Now, this is something which is some old regulation, but there is a growing importance of ESG globally. What you see today in 2019 survey or 2000, it's 24%, but I think you will see over a period of next 2-3 years, ESG compliances overshadowing all other compliances, because when we say ESG, so we know it is environmental, social security, and governance. We all know how important are environmental laws for all of us, not only from the business perspective, but also the sustainability of the human race, overall human race as well. Social security norms, largely it is consumer protection regulations or the regulations pertaining to the human beings who are working within the organizations and welfare about of those human beings or the labor who are working with us. Governance, as we know, it's again a very old topic. A lot of focus has been there. So now the global investors have kind of mandated to their organization that wherever they will invest, they want those organizations to be ESG compliant. So and so, this is not has come up. The certification has not been mandated as of now with any of the countries, but the global S&P 500 companies, out of that, more than 90% have already volunteered and given their declarations or certifications on ESG compliance. And I think therein the importance of compliance professionals, the compliance know-how is gaining a lot of importance. So now, what are the challenges that we feel while we are talking about the type of compliances, central, state, divided between sectoral, financial, regulatory, IT laws, cyber norms, licenses or permits? So the first most important thing, excessive compliances. We all have been hearing globally there are standards of measuring the ease of doing business globally, wherein compliances plays a very, very vital role. We have been hearing across central and the state government speaking about they reducing a lot of compliances. So, but yes, still there are a lot of compliances which, as an industry, we feel. So that means that too many compliances, and too many compliances coupled with too many legal updates happening every day. Date extension, new laws coming in. Like very recently, there are very important regulation that have come up on IT for all the companies, that they have to create a DPO, kind of a DPO, and the information has to be given to Ministry of Information and Technology. So there's a department with the name CERT. So that has been kind of mandated now for every body corporate or every company operating in India. And then we have to inform if there is some breach, then we have to be informed about it. So as I said, the focus has to be beyond income tax, GST, and Companies Act. There's a lot more happening around different subjects of compliances. In labor law, we all know labor codes are coming up. There are transitions happening. A lot of updates are happening around it. So that's another challenge for any corporate or any professional organization to tap those compliances. When we again had a landscape on compliances, we have multiple departments and multiple departments coupled with multiple locations. So that multiple locations can be within India and as well as outside India. I hope we know that the way the startup culture is growing in India, a lot of startups have also having their operations outside India, and they are going very fast because they have their capabilities of equity. Secondly, we have a lot of great old business houses who in any case have been going beyond India now. So to know the compliances of geographies like Singapore, China, European countries, UK, US, Australia, Africa. So I think that those are countries wherein we want to know. Like India is also doing a lot of trades with Bangladesh nowadays. So that's the problem has gone beyond India now in terms of geographies. And coupled with all this, while we have list of compliances, we have so many updates, we have so many departments, we have so many territories. it is really very difficult to track all that entire gamut manually by a single department, or maybe tracked by a single department. And most important is that how the management can get a visibility at the apex level, that what is the status of compliances of a particular department to a particular location to a particular entity, and then at the group level. The problem becomes more when we all know that compliance is something that we cannot learn overnight. No degree can ensure that we are knowing about the compliances, overall compliances in a day's time, or maybe in a year or two's time. And that too in a situation when there are too many compliance and too many updates. So skill set is always a challenge. And for that, there is an obvious need that there should be right libraries, right intelligent applications to complement or to support any professional who has been interested with this responsibility of the compliances. So that's another pain point that we have come across while we have implemented compliance solutions with more than 200 corporates in India and outside India. And we have been interacting with a lot of professional bodies and professional organizations as well in the process. So these are the key pain points and corporates which we have identified during our various interactions. Yes, there may be more, but this is what we feel are the key ones to do. Now, while we say compliances or automation or compliance management, I think it's very important to just to revise or just to again understand what is this entire process entails or comprises of. The first thing is, I think most important is know your compliances. Now, this know your compliances is something like uh, understanding the business activities, identifying the applicable laws, then identifying the applicable compliances, having an engagement with the right stakeholders, be it secretarial, be it HR, admin, EHS, regulatory, Marcom, IT, exchange of knowledge, identifying the right box. Now that is most important stage, that while we have identified the list of compliances, it's very important that accountability and responsibility matrix needs to be identified. Okay, and that is one of the beauty of this process, because as we all know that while we have departments working, there is always some level of gap in terms of understanding of the accountability and the responsibility. And while there is an accountability and responsibility, there have to be some maker and checker function as well. So that is the second critical stage before we actually hand over those compliances to the respective users for updating. Now, while we are saying handover, now handover can be two ways. It can be manual handover or it can be automated through applications. Now, automation of the applications have their own benefits. So the challenges of manual we can overtake or can be taken care of by this automation of the compliances, because automation of the compliances have some of the benefits which I'll take over in the next stage. Uh, so while it is being handed over the users should update the compliance status with the proof of compliance. The checker should check whether the right reporting has been done. And ideally, the management should get all the reports and the dashboards so that they can basically review the real-time status, which is practically not possible in case of manual tracking. And that again comes a need of some ERP or some mechanism of updation of the same regularly, and so that corrective measures can be taken for delayed compliances or non-compliances around it, and obviously to plan for the updates. So this is in brief about the compliance management process. Now, how the tech solutions help us in solving some of the problems of the entire stages. Uh, I hope my voice is audible. I have just got a message for some unstable internet on my laptop.
It's very stable now. There was a slight disruption. It's better now.
Thank you. Uh, as we all know, the first key important thing, uh, first key thing or first important thing is to know your compliances. Now, historically, what we rely on expertise, which is very important, and identification of laws and compliances depends on various factors. which can be your locations, which can be your nature of business, which can be your type of entity, which can be your headcount, which can be your plant and machinery, which can be your consumables, which can be your turnover, and much more. Today, you can really vouch there are applications. At least we have an application who can help you to identify those laws through the system by putting in some of the key traits of your business. So technology has gone to that level. I'll just share the screens once I'm complete this slide. Similarly, once you have identified those laws, there are checklists which are available through the technology which has been developed over a period of time by a lot of professionals. There are publishing houses, there are service providers. Again, the technology plays a very key role in giving you that knowledge and also keeping it updated periodically. Now, once we have that list of laws, list of compliances, they are being discussed, then this compliance tool, which is in simple term is nothing but a task management application. Okay. So once we have plugged the compliance into that, it becomes a compliance management system. So the whole idea of task management is to remind the person about the task much before the task is becoming due, give them all the right literature about that compliance, what is to be done, how is to be done, what is the form, what is the website. Once they complete the task, they just need to update the completion status with the proof of compliance. It goes to the approver checks the correctness and updates it. Once they update it, the management reports of the management dashboards get real-time updated with those tech-enabled applications. So you have management reports, you can analyze the reports from multiple perspectives, right? And you can also take corrective measures from them. So this entire life cycle, which we were discussing in the previous slide, can be easily monitored and managed through compliance applications, and coupled with the fact that all the reportings, all the documents which are proof of compliance can be saved as a document repository within the application. So that also takes care of the measure that if the concerned team members are moving out or you have outsourced certain functions, you have everything within your control at any point of time, right? And so you are in right control from all the perspectives, coupled with the legal updates. So what I'm doing is just from the practicality perspective, or just to give you a glimpse of some of the applications that is working. So I just share my screen with you to showcase to you some of the applications starting from identifying the laws. I hope my screen is visible. It's moving.
Yes, Gaurav, we can see the LexBuddy home screen.
Yes, please. Thank you. So LexBuddy, this is one of the innovations of LexComply. So what we have done is we have created some functionalities for professionals working within the organizations or outside the organizations who are playing their roles in managing and improving the compliance processes. So here is 5 key functionalities or 4 key functionalities. This law checker is a functionality which helps you to identify the specific laws to your business, wherein I just quickly, so you can just select the state, type of entity you are operating in, the sector, say pharma, and manufacturing. Basis your input, the system will start asking you questions, relevant questions about your business. So within pharma, you have some more options. Once you select these options, it will ask you a few more questions. So it's a step-by-step approach wherein all the key traits of the laws like human side of HR, then about the turnover, business processes and building, it will ask you a few questions. I'm just quickly moving on. And once you complete this process, you have the list of laws in front of this, which is not only central in the state, but also cover different, which is environmental, health and safety, HR, your regulatory, taxation, corporate laws, all are covered. This can be taken in the Excel. You can do your own research, say for example, drugs. Okay, and if you want to know more about this regulation, just click on the registration so that you can know what all different registrations are to be obtained, how to be obtained under the statute. It is like this. Further, if you want to see the compliance checklist, just click here and you have the compliance checklist in front of you. So this is a pure reference library Now here, this automation and intelligence of compliance know-how helps professionals and the corporates to identify the compliances, know more about it, and to manage the compliance in easy manner. So this is entire compliance literature. You have the formats of the forms and everything available within the portal. You can download them for being used. Similarly, so this is all about the first part of it, wherein I told you that, okay, this is identification of the compliance and the compliance checklist, how the systems can help you or the technology can help you. Okay, and by the way, in some of the countries like Australia, they have also developed WhatsApp chat on compliances. So you can talk to the system on compliances, they will give you answers. But obviously, we cannot override or rule the importance of advisory, but at least you get the information to work on. So whatever content you are seeing on this Lex Buddy, it's the language of the law, which is being rightly presented in a more refined manner. We can obviously have some demos or some details discussions around that. Similarly, I also have, say for example, I just give you a glimpse of compliance management systems and the dashboards it creates. I hope I'm not moving too fast for the audience.
Quite fine, Gaurav. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll just check this part. I'll just share that. I'll just continue with the presentation. Now, I'm sharing few case studies how the compliance system of LexComply have helped few of the major few of the companies wherein we have major implementations. Okay, so that the companies get benefit of this compliance management system and how they're being benefited by this entire process. I'll just take an example. The first one is we were being engaged by one of the edtech companies, the famous edtech companies of India, where they have basically 400 locations, and within those locations, they also have franchisee centers. Now, franchisee centers are also critical part of the business because most of the revenue were coming from franchisee business. And normally these franchisee owners are a normal businessmen or MSME business people who are not much structured in terms of compliances. And more you tell them to follow certain compliances, the more jittery they can become. That means they can be a direct impact on the revenue if you push them beyond a point. So we were having few of the problems or challenges were like they have multiple locations. Then being into edtech business and having centers, they have to comply with a lot of municipal compliances and also education sector compliances. Now this education sector is very laws and compliance are very unstructured in India. There are a lot of municipal compliance around it, but some of the state laws have also created certain laws pertaining to education sector or coaching sector. But that was very, very difficult part to identify and also to keep it updated. And obviously, franchisee was something not a critical part in terms of identifying the compliances, but also psychologically making them ready to adopt to this process. So what we did, we implemented compliance management solution, but the whole important part was, and that compliance management solution implemented helped them to integrate together all the 400 locations. But how did we challenge, how we solved the challenge along with the implementation of the CMS was that we did an extensive research on education and municipal laws with the help of associates on pan-India basis. And these associates were having, so those associates were having a insight, or they were able to provide us the literature about those laws, local laws and local compliances. And also we had given a multiple visits to the departments also for taking a confirmation on the applicability of those compliances. Then obviously, because that was a major part of it, and then with this network, we was keeping it updated. Now, as on date, there are more than 320 plus laws live, which is more than 49,000 compliances. And you won't believe that that organization was subsequently taken over by another large organization, and they were able to complete the due diligence in 2 months of time because of the reason they were having a good compliance system in place, which was covering all the aspects of the laws which the lawyers want to have a due diligence on. And it was one of the biggest takeovers in the tech sector. And subsequently to that, keeping in mind the effort or quality of the software, the company which has taken over has also given us that responsibility to us. But the most important thing that has happened is the professional who was leading these projects, right, have been able to go beyond the company to the group company levels, and also have been interested with some global mandates. So it is beneficial for both. It is not only beneficial for the organization, but individual professionals by way of improvement in their skill set, management skill sets, and also growth in the professional career. Another interesting case study that we have is that we were giving opportunity to serve an ITS company, a well-known brand having operations in more than 20 countries globally. Now, when I say globally, so that main thing comes in how, as an Indian company operating out of few cities in India, we have that capability and the know-how, or how that company, Indian company, can get that know-how around 22 geographies when they are operating across different regions. So that was one main problem. Then they obviously, when we were talking about international geography, they also wanted that expertise available to them, and to bring all the entities together on a single page, basically, to work on. So what we did was that we, in a very, very limited time frame, we did an alliance with lawyers across the board, 22 countries. We have our local expertise. We have our expertise available in India as well, who have worked on international geographies. We created the entire network. We identified the laws and compliances for those countries. We had an interaction with the professionals or the key stakeholders of the client of across all those countries, and put them on a single dashboard, so that the management in India now is able to see on real-time basis what are the compliance status of their entire global organizations, basically, and they can keep it updated. They're able to keep it updated on a real-time basis. Total acts live as of now are 1,000 plus, and more than 20,000 compliances are live. And so this is the power of technology, the coupled with legal know-how, that we are trying to or able to solve through this mechanism. Before I move to Q&A section, just give me a moment. I'm just stopping my screen. I'll just check if that link is working, and I'll just immediately showcase that to you. Just give me a moment, please. It's almost done. I'm just sharing my screen. So is my screen visible?
Yes, Gaurav.
Thank you. Again, my apologies for this time. Yeah. So what we did, I just give an example. As I told you that, are you able to see this drop down also?
Yes, Gaurav.
Great, thank you. So what we did is we created a group company for that international group, or maybe you within India if you have multiple entities, and within that group company you have all these entities based off maybe within India or outside India. You can have it from here. So let's start with quickly from the group company side. So the group management user, so being a group CEO, group CFOs, group councils, legal councils. So our company secretaries, you or chartered accountants interested with this compliance job, at a single dashboard, you can see the have an entire visibility in the compliance status. You have those analytics, real-time analytics available on the trends of the compliances. Where is your organization moving? What is the global level compliance overall status? Coupled with the criticality, you have analytics around department-wise, country-wise, red flags and green flags. Similarly, if you want to have all these data analytics available to you to be done continent-wise, entity-wise, country-wise, and within country, you can choose further departments and everything. And also statutory and internal compliances you can check in. So this is something, as I said, while you have this compliance management solutions in place, you can work from very ground to the city level, to the district, to state, to country, and to global levels as well. Now, this entire process or technology help us to not only automate, but also keeps you updated with the changes. You have your own libraries available within this system. You can select the library of the country you want to choose in. Okay, and you can access to the library if you want to check is a central statute, the submit a central statute. You can see the libraries across different countries you want to choose from, and just view and click it and see. So all the libraries versus domestic or India, it's handy to the organization like this. So this is a UK law, Bribery Act of there. So you not only get the compliance, you not only are tracking, but you have the entire library. You have further analytics available to you by way of these compliance reports, wherein you have more filters to work on. Further, whatever document has been uploaded by the team members across the globe, depending upon your rights, you have these available to you by way of country, by way of uh, department you can choose from. You have further analytics available to you. So as I said, a lot of things gets uh, um, simpler, easier. Yes, obviously it takes some effort, but uh, once effort is being done, you can always have availability, or you can always see the benefits being reaping out around that. So similarly, you can have a country-wise dashboards like this. So I'll not take much time of all of you on this. So I just wanted to see showcase these things, and then you always get some blogs, informative blogs as well, uh, available to you, so that which is actually helps you to keep you updated with some of the interpretations of good practices as well. We keep on sending these blogs, and similarly other organizations keep on sending you these blogs, and these comes in within the libraries, which may be about due date extensions, checklist for fire warehouses, cert compliances, checklist for taking warehouses, migration, new rules for Bihar professional tax, new things come up to you. So I think this is again technology is helping you to disseminating this information more conveniently all over. So I'm just stopping here and opening this session for Q&A now. Happy to respond to any queries.
So while there are no open questions at this point of time, I think, Gaurav, it was a very interesting share, primarily because, and friends, as we know, the top agenda item for the board members is, are we in compliance of the laws? because a lot many times any non-compliance comes in as a surprise to the board and the directors, and it could also be in the form of a notice, and that shakes up the directors to no end. And I think it's in that context that as auditors and as GRC professionals, we typically tend to focus upon providing that assurance to the board members that there are no surprises coming their way, and that the compliances that are necessary are all being done and are in place. I think the second element that we may want to consider is from an IFC point of view, where the directors are responsible for adequate internal financial controls. A solution like what Gaurav has shared with us can play an immense role in providing an assurance to them with an independent insight too, through dashboards and so on, to appreciate the status of compliances and have that assurance too. I think it's in this context that as professionals, we need to leverage solutions today across and provide that added value to the management overall. Uh, in case there are any questions that you may have on the subject of compliance, I'm sure we can take that forward from there. Okay. So, Gaurav, primarily, I would just want to prompt discussion on the subject. Uh, in your experience, when it comes to this compliance, how many organizations really provide a direct insight to the board on the compliance status?
So practically speaking, obviously I can't give you the exact numbers, but if you see the practices how it is working, it will be very, very few percentage of the companies who are providing insight to the board or the stakeholders in a more structured format, right? Though the practices, we expect a listed companies or equity invested companies to be good, right? But still, because not because of the intent, but because of the challenges that they face in terms of knowing the compliances and then disseminating, then collating and presented in a specified format. I think that's a challenge, but I think the trends have been improving basically because that speaks just to give you an insight that in last 2 to 3 years, the way this compliance management systems have been taken positively by the corporate, that itself is a shows that the corporates are more and more keen to adopt to these practices of good governance, and not only good governance, which maybe sometimes is taken theoretical, but also because of the fact that it really impacts their business continuity, right? Uh, More specifically, regulatory compliance. So I think it is gaining importance. And with this ESG, I think if I'm not wrong, the regulators, Indian regulators, are also considering to start making it mandatory over a period of time, maybe starting from listed companies, certain categories, and boiling down to the other critical entities going forward.
Right. So I think it's very important to have a progressive mindset when it comes to the subject of compliance, because technically and typically, when it comes to compliance, there's a negativity attached to the term compliance. Everyone starts thinking, "Yeah, we banne aa gaya hai." We'll have to do something what we don't want to do, or we'll have to do something which is not typically, business, right? We are doing it for somebody else. We're not doing it for the purpose of business. And I think it's in that context that we are looking at the entire compilation of the laws, looking at those compliances, and effectively using it as a competitive edge when it comes to reputation, right? You mentioned about the EduComp example, where the due diligence happened fast because of the availability of the entire data on compliance and so on. I think that's a very important, I would say, reputational element associated with an organization. And as an internal auditor, I think it's a very important point to also refer to, where we are playing the role of a facilitator for the organization. We are working with the management in terms of changing their approach towards compliance from being just adequately compliant to proactively ensuring that we are, having the mechanisms in place so that surprises are controlled and it's all properly done on. So I think that's very important.
I think you are right, Manish. I just tell you out of my experience, whatever little experience I have. So first of all, initially there was a mindset. There is a okay. Yes, Rajeshji, there are applications within EGRC litigation management as well, which can manage litigation compliances or activities as well, coupled with compliance management. So what happens that while it's very psychological, because sometimes when you start this activity of identifying the laws and compliances, so most of the department starts taking that as if the audit has been initiated. Okay,
Right.
so that's the one critical barrier that we have to be very, very clear, or we have to set the tone correct. That look, this is an activity which has been initiated to enable the organized departments or enable the users, okay, to do their compliances more effectively. And if there are certain gaps in the compliances, the compliance management team is there to actually support you or complement you or to act like your internal team to educate you, because that is very, very important. Because the biggest bottleneck is from the point that they feel this is an audit, there are always some gaps in the compliances, be it any organization. Okay, so that is very, very important to be taken care of.
Right. I think there was one other question from Rajesh.
So yes, Rajeshji, when you say SaaS model, so application is available on SaaS model as well uh, for being used. So we can always discuss, because there are different ways of implementing different applications. And so yes, SaaS model is also available.
I think the beauty overall of the solution, particularly LexBuddy. I mean, LexBuddy is something what uh, see, forms and teams have got their own checklist, compliance checklist, and so on, which they take to the teams and they go across to see what is there as a compliance status on. But LexBuddy provides a very easy reference point when you are in the field and when you want to have a quick appreciation of what's the law about and so on and so forth. I think that's a very important reference point for the audit teams to quickly refer and quickly work on it and take it further on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are audit firms which are, building on that, because one is to have your own checklist, to have your own knowledge base and content base, and two is to have it constantly updated by experts and using that as a reference point. So while you may have several, you may have a taxman, you may have a LexisNexis. I think there are several other knowledge or content providers which are there on, but a simple to use would help us, to build on that. So I thought that was an important development which I could observe on LexComply side.
Yeah, you're right, Manisha, because as I said, that the whole vision and mission of Lex RSJ team or Lex Comply team has been how to enable our professionals to have more visibility of non-financial compliances. Because if you see historically, compliance pertaining to income tax, GST, or Companies Act, you have this compliance information available too easily across the board. But when and nothing like chartered accountant, company secretaries, and lawyers to advise the clients, nothing better than them to advise the clients on EHS, HR laws as well, because they know how to rightly interpret this, they know the nuances of the business, and they can take a holistic view overall while they're advising the clients. But the only thing that has been lacking today is the information is not available in the right way. Okay, so LexBuddy has kind of given them an actual compliance research application to identify the laws first of all, which is the base point, and then compliance checklist out of that as well. And there's much more. So this is what our Lex Buddies mission is, or LexCompliance mission is, to provide them with the global applications, innovative applications, so that they can increase their area of practice, or they can enable the organizations to be better compliant. And these compliances, I tell you, if we look at from even from a commercial perspective, today, as you know, there are alternative funds which are available beyond bank loans, right? Which is equity funding, angel funding, right issues, mergers, acquisitions, right? Different ways are going up. And one of the key factors while we are applying for IPO, we are going for equity participation, or we are going for joint venture mergers, is the compliance status. We cannot overrule the importance of compliance. We have seen a lot of deals not happening because of this compliance issues, right? So we really, it's not only governance, or it is not only goodwill. I think it directly impacts your revenue, because if you want to grow your business, you need funds at the right time and in the right amount. Okay. And you cannot miss the alternate source of funds, which is private equities, uh, mergers, joint ventures, or IPOs. So, and today, even the banks for large funding, they are insisting on compliance certificates as well. So that importance is, again, we cannot skip that importance of compliance. And I have been strong follower of the fact that it is just not for something as a good to have. It is a must to have thing, provided the right set of tools or applications or knowledge is available to our professionals.
No, I'm sure, because at the end of the day, I mean, when we look at any regulation that is being brought in, the regulation always has got an underlying reality behind it, and that reality is sought to be really, looked at by organizations on how exactly they meet them. If you look at the CSR element also, it's primarily to look at how exactly the neighborhoods can be supported and the social elements can be, basically improved upon. Uh, I think it's been a very interesting session. Uh, Primarily, it's all of these interactions tend to build on certain elements that are there, because as auditors, day in and day out, we are looking at compliances on. Now, it's a question of saying, if you look at the continuum of compliance, it's about saying, as a business, if I want to be business, I need to follow the law. So then that comes in over there. The second stage is where we say, if I need to follow the law, is it a burden, or is it something which can be an enabler for me to basically leverage and do my business better, or be seen to be a responsible business on? And how can I leverage that element on? And from
Yes,
there,
yes.
if you have to move on to the next level, then it's a question of saying that yes, as a business, we are responsible, we believe in compliance, and we have got this demonstrable sort of a structure in place by which we are ensuring that we are complied on an ongoing basis, and we are adequately, I would say, staffed or adequately structured to ensure that it's not a one-off element that is there on. And I think as internal auditors, we are quite able to appreciate this element, because we have found personally, wherever we have gone in, and see, the difference between being non-compliant and compliant is very, very little. And often it is out of a unknown fear that it's a burden, it's
Exactly.
something which is there, that people tend to ignore or people tend to avoid. But that effort at compliance is not so large, and
It
the
is not.
benefits of that is you, it's enormous. So I think it's the auditor's role to really engage with the client, to look at the status where the client organizations are, and how much more compliance is possible, rather than starting with the mindset ये possible नहीं है, ये practical नहीं है, करना पड़ रहा है तो कर रहे हैं. It's a question of changing that mindset. So I think that proactive role of the auditor is very important in this space, and I'm sure that the organizations who have already invested in LexComply are the forward-looking ones. So I think there's
I
a lot
think
of good things
I
that can be built on.
I think I must compliment, as I said, the auditors have been really playing a very, very constructive role, because we interact with a lot of IEA, especially during the process of our journey with any corporates. Because, as I said, they have a holistic view, and as auditors, we always take a materiality as a key pointer in everything that we do. So that way, if we have a larger subset of compliances, they are the good in position to really advise the clients, which is our materially important compliances with the issue, and they can create like a process, year on year plan. Okay, out of this 100 non-compliances, let's plan to do 20 most critical ones now, then next bucket, then next bucket. So I think it's just a matter of creating a journey or charting out a roadmap of a journey, because nothing can happen overnight. And auditors, I think have been playing a wonderful role, and they are and that is why we just wanted to ensure that they have the right, that rightly equipped to answer a lot of queries, internal queries or internal jugglery around compliances by various departments who might be pushing back on the compliances, right, for various reasons. And just making the mindset of the entrepreneurs clear, boss, this will help you to grow your business. This will help you to do more alliances. This will help you to raise more money and eventually a bigger and a better organization. And as this is very, very important as part of a BCP plans, basically, now,
Right.
because you cannot ignore the element of compliances in BCP,
Right.
basically in today's world.
But Gaurav, basically, if one is to think through, a firefighter is always seen to be a savior.
Yeah.
But if there is no fire, then the person who has designed the structure in a way that there is no fire is, ignored or not looked at. And unfortunately,
Exactly.
an internal auditor is somebody who talks about preventive controls. He doesn't step in as a crisis or as a protector at that point of time.
Yeah, I think that's what it's good, because they are taking a preventive process, and that while there are changes in the laws or updations or there are more laws under discussion, they are in a best position that way. And obviously, I think that corporates should also really appreciate that they have such a great auditors with them, and they should more focus on taking their best use of them by giving them or giving them more years to what they are saying around it. It should not be more of like कि सर नोटिस तो आया नहीं है, कोई पूछता तो है नहीं, राइट? बट कोई तो पूछेगा, और वो तब पूछेगा जब आपको सबसे ज्यादा वो हिट करेगा, जब आपका ड्यू डिलिजेंस हो रहा होगा किसी जॉइंट
Correct.
वेंचर के लिए, मर्जर के लिए, प्राइवेट इक्विटी के लिए, and then you will realize what your IAs or auditors have been guiding you over a period of time. Yeah.
No, I think it's very important to have the diagnostic done and to be aware.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all aware of certain health points which are necessary. You need
Exactly.
to exercise, you need to do yoga, you need to do certain things, but maybe out of habit we don't do it. But it's
Yeah.
important to know that where you
Yeah.
stand. And I
Correct.
think that is where a structured database like LexBuddy or a solution like LexComply would enable to get that diagnostic check done where we stand. Now, what we do after knowing that is entirely left to the individual organizations, and sensitizing them to the implications, to the impacts of that is very important. So I think it was an interesting conversation with you today, as well as a presentation on. Uh, in case there are no further questions or comments to make, I would like to extend a very warm vote of thanks to Gaurav.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
very much
Thank
for making it today, and for sharing your thoughts with us. I think it's ideas are always interesting, and there's entire world of ideas. As auditors, I believe, and you've just added to that, is the fact that we are all marketing ideas, right? We sell our concepts, we sell our suggestions, we sell our recommendations, and ensure that businesses become better as a result of that. And I'm sure that in this journey, things are going to become only better and better as we move ahead. And compliance is going to be seen as a competitive edge rather than a necessary evil, so to say.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all the participants who have attended today. It's been a pleasure bringing these sessions to you all, and I'm sure that everyone benefits out of it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Manisha, and thank you to all the participants for joining in. And look forward to have more of these interactions with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.